In the heart of New York, inside the futuristic headquarters of Stratton Dynamics, the world's most advanced electric technology firm, all was not well. The Omega X, a revolutionary electric engine that promised to change transportation forever, had failed. CEO Victor Stratton, a man known for brilliance and brutality, stood in the innovation lab surrounded by top-tier engineers flown in from around the world. No one could make the engine work. "There goes our last hope," someone muttered. But in the far corner, unnoticed by all, stood Elena Raza. 17. Silent. Slim. Steel brace wrapped around her right leg. Her eyes were sharp. Her posture unsure. But she was there. Because her mother cleaned these very floors. Raza B., Elena's mother, had been a janitor at Stratton Dynamics for 12 years. She came in early, left late, and mopped floors most didn't care to step on. Her daughter, Elena, had been born with a leg deformity. Doctors called it a mobility defect. Society called her crippled. She walked with a limp. She was slow. But what no one knew was that her mind, it ran faster than most. While her mother worked, Elena would sit quietly in the corner, watching the engineers through thick glasses. She didn't speak. She didn't draw attention. She just absorbed. And every evening, while others watched TV or scrolled phones, Elena stayed up late, poring over discarded manuals, collecting broken circuits from trash bins, fixing them piece by piece with her trembling hands. Not once did she complain about being laughed at. Not once did she cry when the other kids mimicked her walk. She knew the world didn't expect much from a disabled janitor's daughter. That's exactly why she planned to surprise it. The Omega X engine was Victor's obsession. Billions had been poured in. Governments were watching. Investors were circling like hawks. But it wouldn't start. And time had run out. "Shut it down," Victor roared. "We'll bury the project." Just then, a quiet, trembling voice echoed in the lab. "Sir, may I try?" Everyone turned. Standing beside her mother's mop bucket was Elena. Pale. Fragile. Braced leg gleaming under the fluorescent lights. There was silence. Then laughter. Who let her speak? She thinks it's a toy engine. Victor squinted. "You're the janitor's daughter, right?" Elena nodded. "You realize this isn't a school science project?" "I do," she said. "But I've watched. I've read. I believe I can fix it." Victor, frustrated and amused, said coldly. "If you fail, your mother loses her job." Elena didn't flinch. "If I succeed, will you listen to my mind, not my limp?" That made him pause. 1 hour, he said. No more. As she limped toward the engine, engineers sneered. "Poor girl," someone whispered. But Elena didn't hear them. She heard only the circuits. She remembered late nights, diagrams etched into her notebook, hours of audio lectures she'd stolen from the internet. Her hands moved carefully. She cleaned connections others ignored. She rerouted current using logic some had called impossible. She saw what they missed, a minor, almost invisible defect in the feedback loop that caused the entire failure. She reprogrammed the chip with trembling fingers. And then, time was up. She stepped back. "It's ready," she said softly. Victor raised his hand. Pressed the button. A second passed. Another. And then, a hum. Smooth. Stable. Powerful. The Omega X engine came to life. The lab froze. Engineers stood in shock. Victor's mouth opened but no words came out. Elena stood there, her hands blackened with oil, her eyes wet but focused. How did you do it?" Victor finally asked. She looked at him. At everyone. "Because I had no other choice. When you're laughed at, ignored, and mocked, you either give up, or grow unshakable. I couldn't run fast. So I made sure my mind flew. Razabi burst into tears, hugging her daughter tightly. Memories flooded her mind. Nights she came home to find Elena asleep on open books. Days she skipped meals so Elena could have batteries for her learning tools. Mornings she cried in the bathroom because Elena had no friends, no supporters, and yet always wore a brave face. She kissed her daughter's forehead. "You were always my miracle, Elena," she whispered. "The world just saw it today." Victor turned to the room. "I've built this company on genius. But genius without humility is nothing." He faced Elena. "You've taught every person in this lab a lesson. You saw what they didn't. Felt what they couldn't." He took a deep breath. "From today, you are junior lead engineer of this company. And your mother, full benefits, lifetime position, and a new home provided by Stratton Dynamics." Gasps echoed. Engineers who once dismissed Elena lowered their heads. But she just looked at her mother, eyes trembling. And this time, her tears weren't for pain, but for proof. Proof that she was never less. Just unseen. In a world obsessed with perfection, strength, and appearances, sometimes the most powerful souls walk with a limp, speak in silence, and rise in places no one thought to look. Elena Raza was never supposed to be the hero. She wasn't born into power. She wasn't given titles or opportunities. She came from janitor's quarters, wore a steel brace on her leg, and was laughed at by the very people who were supposed to inspire. But when the moment came, when even the brightest minds had failed, it was her quiet fire, not loud resumes, that saved the dream. This is the truth the world forgets. You don't need perfect legs to take strong steps. You don't need a loud voice to be heard. You don't need the world to believe in you, if you believe in yourself fiercely enough. What mattered wasn't Elena's limp. What mattered was that she never limped in her mind. While others mocked her walk, she trained her wisdom. While others rested on reputation, she rose with resilience. And when the world watched her, she didn't just fix an engine. She rebuilt the meaning of courage. Because true courage isn't about facing dragons in armor. It's about facing a cruel world, with a fragile body and an unbreakable soul. Today, thousands will see her as an inspiration. Tomorrow, they'll tell her story to their daughters. But for years, no one saw her at all. So let this be your reminder. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Never look down on the struggling ones. Never assume that someone with torn shoes has a torn spirit. The girl who cleaned oil stains with her mother may one day change the machine that powers the future. The boy who studies under a streetlight may one day lead the boardroom. Elena's story is not just about an engine. It's about the spark inside every soul that's been ignored, doubted, or dismissed. So if the world calls you weak, build strength in silence. If they laugh at your steps, let your journey speak louder than their words. And if no one claps when you try, clap for yourself. Because sometimes, the most impossible victories begin with a quiet girl in the corner who simply refuses to give up.